I kind of love like reading the backstory that you couldn't get any funding for it, that it ended Norman Lear like took a chance basically.
That's right. I mean, we tried for years. We went around with this 20-minute demo reel that we had, and nobody wanted it. Everybody passed on it. Nobody understood it. And finally, I got it to Avco Embassy, which was at the time run by a guy named, I was Frank Capra's son, Frank Capra II. And he said that he would, Lindsay Duran was the big champion of it as she was an executive there. And she said, look, if I can get it distributed, maybe you can get some financing. So he agreed to distribute it, which then made it a little easier to get financing. I went to a company and they gave me like $1 million. And I said, okay, here we go. And then Jerry Perenchio and Norman Lear bought the company, bought Avco Embassy, turned it into Embassy. And what happens oftentimes when there's a new owner, they
Right.
dump everything that's in development. So they dumped this. And I went to Alan Horn, who was the head of business affairs, and I knew him from All in the Family. He ran Norman's company. Of course, I knew Norman. I mean, he was like a second father to me. And I said to Alan, I said, please let me get in a meeting with Jerry and Norman, and I'll tell them what I think it should be. He said, okay, set up a meeting. And I went in there with all of the executives around, including Jerry and Norman and Alan. And I went to this crazy impassioned plea about why I had to make it. It's going to be a repeat business, and the kids are going to like it. It's rock and roll, and on and on and on. And I'm told after I left the room, Norman turned to Jerry and to Alan and said, "Which one of you two is going to tell him that he can't do this?" And so basically, they let me do it, and he took a big leap of faith. And I'm listen. He's been my champion. He was my champion my whole career.
Would you say, I mean, it's kind of the first mockumentary. I mean, you have the like The Office and Parks and Rec and everything. I feel like there's so many things that were probably inspired by Spinal Tap.
Well, interesting that you mentioned The Office because I had a conversation with Ricky Gervais just recently, and he said exactly that. He said Spinal Tap was the direct influence on the way he did The Office. And then you mentioned Parks and Rec, and you see it all the time now. All of the Chris Guest movies that we produced at Castle Rock, Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, Mighty Wind, all those were done the same way that we did Spinal Tap.